Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Roy English Talk. Ever wonder why native English speakers sound so smooth and natural? It's not just vocabulary, and it's the connectors they use. In this video, you'll learn 75 powerful English connectors that make your speech flow like a pro. Stay with me till the end, and you'll start sounding more fluent, confident, and truly native in every conversation. Warm-up. What are English connectors? Let's start with something simple. What exactly are connectors in English? Connectors are the little words and phrases that glue your sentences together. They show how ideas relate to each other. They're the bridges between your thoughts. Without them, your speech can sound like a list of disconnected statements. But with them, your ideas flow naturally, just like a native speaker's. Think of it like this. When you talk, every sentence is a piece of a puzzle. Connectors are the pieces that help the puzzle come together. They show cause and effect, contrast, addition, sequence, and more. For example, instead of saying I was tired, I went to bed. A native speaker would say, I was tired, so I went to bed. See the difference? That tiny word so makes the sentence feel complete and natural. Now, here's the interesting part. Connectors aren't only about grammar. They actually shape your personality in English. When you use them correctly, you sound confident, logical, and expressive. You stop sounding like someone who's translating from your native language, and you start sounding like someone who thinks in English. Let's imagine two short dialogues. The first one, A. How was your day? B. I went to work. I came home. I ate dinner. I watched TV. Sounds robotic, right? Now listen to the second one. A. How was your day? B. I went to work, and after that, I came home. Then I had dinner and watched some TV before bed. Suddenly it sounds fluent, natural, and smooth. That's the power of connectors. So what kinds of connectors exist? We can group them into categories. There are addition connectors like, and also, besides, moreover, contrast connectors like, but however, on the other hand, cause and effect connectors like because, therefore, as a result. Sequence connectors like first, then, next, finally. Condition connectors like if, unless, provided that. Emphasis connectors like indeed, in fact, above all. And summarizing connectors like in conclusion, overall, to sum up. Each of these groups plays a special role in how you organize your thoughts. Native speakers don't even realize they're using them. They just come naturally. But for English learners, mastering these can completely change the way you speak. Here's something that might surprise you. Connectors are one of the biggest secrets behind sounding fluent. Most learners focus on vocabulary or pronunciation, but what really makes someone sound native is how smoothly they connect their ideas. When you start using the right connector at the right moment, your English transforms instantly. For example, imagine you're in a meeting. You could say, I agree. It's a good idea. But if you say, I agree, in fact, it's a great idea because it will help us save time, you sound thoughtful and confident. The connector, in fact, adds power and clarity to your point. Another example, instead of saying, I wanted to go out. It was raining. Use a connector and say, I wanted to go out, but it was raining. Instantly, your sentence sounds natural and complete. So, how do you start using connectors like a native? The secret is practice and awareness. Every time you listen to English, whether it's a podcast, a TV show, or a YouTube video, try to notice which connectors the speakers use. Write them down and then try using them in your own conversations. Here's a tip. When you learn a new connector, don't just memorize its meaning. Learn how it's used in real context. For example, however often starts a new sentence. I wanted to go out. However, it was raining. Meanwhile, but usually connects two ideas in one sentence. I wanted to go out, but it was raining. Subtle difference, but it makes your English more precise. Another tip? Avoid overusing the same connectors. Many learners repeat and or but all the time. Instead, switch them up with also, besides, moreover, yet, although, or on the other hand. Variety makes your English sound richer and more advanced. By the end of this video, you'll know 75 connectors, not just their meanings, but how to use them naturally and confidently. You'll sound smoother, more organized, and more persuasive when you speak. So get ready. In the next part, we'll begin with Group 1, addition connectors. These are the easiest to start with, and they'll immediately make your speech sound more natural. Let's dive in. Contrast connectors. Now that you know how to add ideas smoothly, it's time to learn how to contrast them, how to show differences, opposing thoughts, or unexpected results. These words and phrases are called contrast connectors, and they're absolutely essential if you want to sound like a native speaker. They make your speech interesting, dynamic, and natural. Let's start with the most common one, but. Simple, short, and super useful. You already know it. I like coffee, but I don't like tea. It connects two opposite ideas in a single sentence. Easy, right? However, the key is to avoid using but all the time. Native speakers use many other contrast connectors to sound more expressive. Let's explore them one by one. First up, however, this is a formal and elegant alternative to but. You'll often hear it in presentations, essays, and polite conversations. For example, I wanted to go out. However, it started raining. See the difference? It sounds smoother and more professional. A quick grammar tip. However, usually starts a new sentence, followed by a comma. Wrong. I wanted to go out, however, it started raining. Correct. I wanted to go out. However, it started raining. That little pause makes your English sound polished and natural. Next, although and though. These two words mean almost the same thing, but they're used differently. Although often appears at the beginning or middle of a sentence. Although it was cold, we went swimming. Or, we went swimming although it was cold. Though, on the other hand, is more casual and common in spoken English. You'll often hear natives end sentences with though. It was cold. We went swimming, though. It sounds friendly, relaxed, and very natural. Now let's add even though. This is a stronger version of although. It emphasizes contrast more clearly. For example, even though he was tired, he finished his work. That tiny even adds emotional weight. It shows effort or surprise. Next, we have yet. This little word often surprises learners because it's short but powerful. Yet works just like but it sounds more elegant and adds a sense of surprise or contrast. For example, the movie was long yet very entertaining. It's perfect for writing or formal speech, and it gives your sentence a nice rhythm. Now, let's look at on the other hand. This one is super useful when you want to show two sides of an argument. For example, I love living in the city. On the other hand, it's really expensive. See how it balances the two ideas? It's great for discussions, debates, or explaining your opinions clearly. There's also whereas and while. These are excellent for comparing two things directly. For example, my brother loves football, whereas I prefer basketball. While she enjoys parties, I like staying home. Both connectors show clear contrast in preferences or actions. Next, nevertheless and nonetheless. These two words mean despite that, or even so. They sound formal and sophisticated. For instance, the task was difficult. Nevertheless, he completed it on time. It was raining heavily. Nonetheless, the match continued. Both are perfect for essays, speeches, or advanced-level communication. Now let's talk about still. This one is short, casual, and very common in everyday English. It means even so or regardless. For example, I was tired, but I still went to the gym. It shows persistence or an unexpected action, something native speakers use constantly. Let's look at some examples that compare all these connectors. Example 1. I like the cold, but I don't like snow. I like the cold. However, I don't like snow. Although I like the cold, I don't like snow. I like the cold. Still, I don't like snow. Each one expresses contrast, but with a different tone. Casual, formal, or emotional. Example 2. She's quiet. On the other hand, her sister is very talkative. She's quiet, whereas her sister talks nonstop. She's quiet yet confident. All three work perfectly, depending on the context. Here's something interesting. Native speakers often combine connectors naturally, depending on emotion and context. For example, it was late and I was exhausted. Still, I had to finish the project. The room was messy. However, it felt cozy. Even though we disagreed, we respected each other's opinions. See how flexible and expressive these phrases are? Let's do a little practice exercise together. I'll give you a sentence. Try to add a contrast connector to make it sound natural. I love sweets. I don't eat them often. You could say, I love sweets, but I don't eat them often. Or, I love sweets. However, I don't eat them often. He was sick. He went to work. Try, although he was sick, he went to work. Or, he was sick. Still, he went to work. The plan was risky. We decided to try it. Possible answers. The plan was risky. Nevertheless, we decided to try it. This is how you sound natural, by choosing the connector that matches the tone and situation. Here's a golden rule. Use but, though, still for everyday conversations. Use, however, although, even though for polite or semi-formal speech. Use nevertheless, whereas, on the other hand, for professional or academic settings. Now, listen to this quick story. Pay attention to how the contrast connectors make it sound natural. I love my new job. The people are great, and the office is beautiful. However, the commute is really long. Still, I enjoy it because the work is rewarding. On the other hand, sometimes I miss having more free time. Nevertheless, I'm grateful for the opportunity. Did you notice? Every connector added rhythm and emotion. It's exactly how native speakers speak. Here's one more example in casual tone. I was super tired, though I couldn't sleep. It was raining outside, yet it felt peaceful. My cat was meowing nonstop. Still, it made me laugh. See? Contrast connectors don't just connect, they tell a story. To summarize this section, but is your go-to contrast connector, short and simple. However, and yet sound more polished. Even though show opposing ideas naturally. On the other hand, whereas, while are great for comparisons. Nevertheless and nonetheless make your speech formal and powerful. Still adds a casual emotional touch. Practice using them until they feel automatic. The goal isn't to memorize rules. It's to feel how each one fits different moods and contexts. Now that you've mastered contrast connectors, you're ready for Group 3, cause and effect connectors. These will help you explain why something happens, just like native speakers do naturally every day. Stay with me. It's about to get even more interesting. Cause and effect connectors. Now that you know how to add and contrast ideas, let's talk about something that native speakers do all the time, explaining why something happens. When you tell stories, describe problems, or share opinions, you often need to show cause and effect, the reason and the result. That's where cause and effect connectors come in. Let's start with the most basic one, because. It's simple, but incredibly powerful. It answers the question why. For example, I'm studying English because I want to travel to the US here, because connects your reason with your action. However, if you only use because every time, your English can sound repetitive. Native speakers use many alternatives, like since as so therefore thus consequently that's why due to and owing to. Let's go through each of them step by step. First up, since and as. These two are often used in place of because, especially in more formal or natural speech. For example, since it's raining, let's stay home. As you're busy, we'll postpone the meeting. They sound softer and more polite than because. A small grammar tip. Since and as usually go at the beginning of a sentence. This helps your speech sound more organized and fluent. Next, so. This one is all about the result. It means therefore or for that reason. For example, it was late, so we went home. She was tired, so she took a nap. So is short, casual, and used constantly in everyday speech. In fact, it's one of the most common connectors in spoken English. Now, let's move to therefore. This one is a bit more formal, and it's perfect for writing, presentations, or serious discussions. For example, he didn't study. Therefore, he failed the exam. Notice the semicolon before therefore. That's a common structure in written English. Thus is very similar to therefore, but it sounds slightly more academic or formal. For example, the experiment failed. Thus, we had to repeat it. You'll often see thus in reports, essays, and research papers. It's elegant and precise. Now, let's talk about consequently. This word means as a result. It's used when one action directly causes another. For example, she forgot her passport. Consequently, she missed her flight. It's formal and sounds intelligent, great for written or professional English. Next, that's why. This is very common in spoken English and storytelling. For instance, I love languages. That's why I'm learning English. It sounds warm, conversational, and natural. You'll hear native speakers use it all the time. Then we have so that. Be careful. This one means for the purpose of, not just a result. For example, I studied hard so that I could pass the test. Here, so that introduces your goal or intention, not the result itself. Now let's look at because of and due to. These are used before nouns or noun phrases, not full sentences. For example, the flight was canceled because of the storm. The flight was canceled due to the storm. Both mean the same thing. Due to sounds a bit more formal. There's also owing to, which is similar but slightly more elegant. Owing to the heavy traffic, we arrived late. You'll hear this more in British English or formal writing. Let's look at a few examples to compare. Example 1. I stayed home because I was sick. I stayed home since I was sick. I was sick, so I stayed home. I was sick. Therefore, I stayed home. All correct, but each one feels slightly different in tone, casual, polite, formal, or structured. Example 2. He didn't eat breakfast. As a result, he was hungry later. He didn't eat breakfast. Consequently, he was hungry later. He didn't eat breakfast. That's why he was hungry later. See? They all express cause and effect in a different way. Now here's a quick practice exercise. I'll say 2 ideas. You connect them using the best cause and effect connector. It rained. We stayed indoors. It rained, so we stayed indoors. She didn't study. She failed the exam. She didn't study. Therefore, she failed the exam. The road was closed. There was an accident. The road was closed because there was an accident. Or, the road was closed due to an accident. He trained hard. He won the race. He trained hard. Consequently, he won the race. Perfect. These are exactly the kinds of sentences that make your English sound connected and logical. Now, let's make it more fun with a short story. I woke up late this morning, so I missed the bus. Because of that, I had to take a taxi. The taxi was expensive. Therefore, I didn't buy coffee on my way. Consequently, I was tired the whole day. That's why I'm going to sleep early tonight, did you notice? Every connector shows a chain of cause and effect, just like how we tell stories in real life. Here's another example in a more professional context. The company's sales increased this quarter because of new marketing strategies. Consequently, profits rose by 20%. Therefore, management plans to expand into new markets next year. It's logical, structured, and smooth, perfect for meetings or reports. One more common connector is for this reason. For example, I want to improve my communication skills. For this reason, I practice speaking every day. It's formal, but it works well in motivational or explanatory contexts. Now let's summarize all the main cause and effect connectors and how to use them naturally. Remember this. Use because. So that's why for natural everyday speech. Use since as for polite soft explanations. Use therefore consequently. Thus owing to for formal or academic contexts. The best speakers mix them naturally, depending on the situation. Let's do a quick recap with one more story. Casual, fluent, and fun. I missed my alarm, so I was late to class. Because of that, I missed the quiz. Consequently, my grade dropped. That's why I'm setting 2 alarms from now on. See how every connector gives your story rhythm and logic? That's the power of cause and effect connectors. They make your speech smooth, natural, and intelligent. Group 4, time connectors, tell stories. Like a native speaker, now that you've learned how to express reasons and results, it's time to make your English flow like a story, clear, chronological, and easy to follow. To do that, you need time connectors. These are the words that help you organize your speech, show order, and connect events naturally. Imagine you're telling a story about your day. You don't just say random sentences. You say them in order. What happened first, next, and finally. That's exactly what time connectors do for you. Let's start with the basics. First, next, then, after that, finally. These are perfect for daily conversations and storytelling. For example, first I woke up. Then I took a shower. After that I had breakfast. Finally, I went to work. Sounds natural, right? These simple words make your speech organized and easy to understand. Now, let's go deeper and explore more advanced connectors that native speakers use all the time. Initially, this one means at the beginning. For example, initially I didn't like my job, but over time, I started enjoying it. It sounds slightly formal and works great when you're telling stories or giving presentations. At first is similar, but more casual. You'd use it in everyday conversation. At first I thought learning English was hard, but now I love it. Before and after are two of the most common connectors you'll ever use. I always brush my teeth before I go to bed. After I finish work, I go to the gym. They show sequence. One thing happens before or after another. Then we have meanwhile. This one means at the same time. Two things happening together. For example, I was cooking dinner. Meanwhile, my brother was setting the table. It's an easy way to describe parallel actions. Now, let's talk about when, while, and as, the triple tools for describing simultaneous actions. When is used for one event that happens at a particular time. When I arrived, the meeting had already started. While is for two actions happening together. While I was watching TV, my friend called me, as is also used like while, but it feels a bit more fluent and native. As I was leaving, it started to rain. Native speakers often use as because it sounds smoother in fast natural speech. Next, we have by the time. It connects two moments. One action is complete before another begins. For example, by the time I got to the airport, the plane had already taken off. This one is great for storytelling or describing regretful situations. Another useful one. Afterwards. It means later or after that, and it helps you move your story forward naturally. We went to the concert, and afterwards we had dinner. Now let's look at then versus after that versus later on, all of which are time connectors, but they feel slightly different in tone. Then is simple and neutral. I finished my homework. Then I watched a movie. After that sounds a bit more natural and organized. After that, I went for a walk. Later on is conversational and used when there's a longer time gap. Later on, I called my friend. Now let's talk about connectors that help you end a story smoothly. Eventually. Finally, in the end. Eventually means after a long time or after many attempts. I kept applying for jobs and eventually I got one. It's great for showing persistence or a long process. Finally is simple and direct, used for the last step. Finally, we reached the top of the mountain. In the end is used to show the conclusion of a situation. I wasn't sure which movie to watch, but in the end, I chose a comedy. Let's compare them. I studied hard for months, and eventually I passed the test. Finally, I could relax. In the end, it was all worth it. See how each one adds rhythm and structure? Now let's move to beforehand, which means in advance or earlier. For example, please check your ticket beforehand. It's polite and often used in instructions or formal speech. Another useful connector is since then, which shows that something started in the past and continues to now. I moved to New York in 2018, and since then, I've been working here. Native speakers use this phrase constantly when describing life experiences. Up to now or so far are also time connectors used for ongoing situations. For example, I've studied English for 2 years up to now. So far, I've watched all the lessons in this series. Now, let's look at a few connectors that show quick-time transitions, great for storytelling, immediately, right after, as soon as, for example. I called her immediately after I heard the news. As soon as I arrived home, it started raining. These show urgency or quick reactions, just like how people speak in real conversations. Here's a short story to bring them all together. First, I woke up late. As soon as I saw the time, I jumped out of bed. While I was brushing my teeth, I realized I had a meeting in 10 minutes. So I skipped breakfast. Meanwhile, my phone kept buzzing with messages. After that, I rushed out the door and finally I made it, just in time. In the end, the meeting went great. That story alone used more than 10 time connectors, and it sounds natural, fluent, and easy to follow. Let's make a quick practice challenge. I'll give you a few sentences and you try to connect them with time connectors. I finished dinner. I watched TV. After I finished dinner, I watched TV. He started studying English. He moved to the US. He started studying English before he moved to the US. The movie ended. Everyone clapped. When the movie ended, everyone clapped. She graduated. She got a job. After she graduated, she got a job. He failed twice. He succeeded. He failed twice, but eventually, he succeeded. Now you can see how these connectors make your speech more logical, organized, and engaging, just like how native speakers tell stories. Let's quickly summarize the key ones you should master. For sequence: first, next, then, after that, finally. For simultaneous actions: when, while, as, meanwhile. For timing and order: before, after, afterwards, by the time. For conclusions: eventually, finally, in the end. For ongoing situations: since then, so far, up to now. For quick reactions: immediately, right after, as soon as. Here's the secret. The more you use time connectors, the more fluent and confident you'll sound, because your sentences will flow like a story, not like a list of ideas. Now that you've learned how to connect ideas by time, get ready for the next section. Group 5, Condition Connectors. The words that help you talk about possibilities, situations, and if statements just like a native speaker. Group 5, Condition Connectors. Talk about possibilities. Like a native speaker, now that you know how to organize time in English, it's time to talk about possibilities, situations, and outcomes. Things that depend on other things. That's where condition connectors come in. These are words and phrases that help you say, if this happens, then that happens. Let's start with the most common one, if. It's short, powerful, and used all the time in both speaking and writing. For example, if it rains, we'll stay inside. If you study hard, you'll pass the exam. This kind of sentence expresses a real and possible situation. It's called the first conditional. If plus present tense will plus verb, if I have time, I'll call you. But native speakers don't always use if in the same way. There are other connectors that make your English sound more advanced and natural, like unless, as long as, provided that, in case, even if, and whether or not. Let's go through each one step by step. Unless, this one means if not. Instead of saying if not, you can use unless to sound smoother. For example, I won't go unless you come with me. That means, I will only go if you come. You can't enter unless you have a ticket. Native speakers use unless all the time in both casual and formal situations. It makes your sentences sound more natural and direct. As long as, so long as, these two mean only if this condition is true. For example, you can borrow my car as long as you drive carefully. You can stay here so long as you don't make noise. They sound polite, but they also show a clear limit or condition, perfect for daily conversation and work settings. Provided that, providing that. These are similar to as long as, but a bit more formal. For example, You can get a refund provided that you keep the receipt. We'll approve your request providing that all documents are complete. You'll often hear these in business, legal, or academic English. In case, this connector means because something might happen. It's about preparation, not cause and effect, but precaution. For example, take an umbrella in case it rains. I wrote down the address in case I get lost. Notice, you use in case when something hasn't happened yet, but you're getting ready for it. Native speakers love this one because it sounds natural and practical. Even if this one is powerful, it means no matter what happens. For example, I'm going to the party even if it rains. Even if I fail, I'll try again. It shows strong determination or contrast. Using even if makes your speech emotional, expressive, and confident, just like native speakers. Whether or not. This means it doesn't matter if, for example, I'm going to New York whether or not you come. She's taking the job whether they pay her more or not. This is great for showing that your decision or situation doesn't depend on another condition. It's often used to sound firm or independent. In the event that this is formal and often used in professional or legal English. It means if something happens. For example, in the event that the meeting is canceled, we'll send an email. In the event of an emergency, call this number. It's not for everyday talk, but it's excellent for business English. Now, let's look at how native speakers use condition connectors in different types of conditional sentences. There are 4 main types you need to know. Zero conditional, for general truths. If you heat water, it boils. It's always true, so both parts are in the present tense. First conditional, for real future possibilities. If it rains tomorrow, we'll stay home. Second conditional, for unreal or imaginary situations. If I had wings, I would fly. If I were you, I'd take the job. This is great for advice or daydreaming. Third conditional, for unreal past situations, regrets or hypotheticals. If I had studied harder, I would have passed the test. This one sounds emotional and reflective. Now, let's mix in some of the advanced connectors we just learned. Unless you study, you won't pass. As long as you practice, your English will improve. Take your ID in case they ask for it. Even if you're tired, you should keep going. Provided that the weather is nice, we'll go hiking. All of these sound natural, confident, and fluent. Let's look at a quick mini-story using these connectors naturally. If I wake up early tomorrow, I'll go for a run. But if it rains, I'll stay home. I'll take my headphones in case I want to listen to music. Even if I feel lazy, I'll still go, because I know I'll feel better afterwards. As long as I keep this routine, I'll get fitter every week. Did you notice? That's how native speakers naturally use condition connectors in daily conversations. Short, clear, and logical. Now let's have a practice challenge. I'll give you 2 sentences. You connect them using a condition connector. You don't hurry. You'll miss the train. If you don't hurry, you'll miss the train. Unless you hurry, you'll miss the train. He finishes the project. We'll celebrate. As long as he finishes the project, we'll celebrate. It rains. We'll go out. Even if it rains, we'll go out. You follow the rules. You can stay. Provided that you follow the rules, you can stay. They cancel the event. We'll inform everyone. In the event that they cancel the event, we'll inform everyone. See how easy it is to transform your speech? You're not just connecting words, you're building logical relationships that sound smart and fluent. If it's sunny this weekend, we'll go to the beach. But if not, we'll stay home and watch movies. Unless it gets too cold, we'll swim. As long as everyone's free, we'll have a great time. And even if it rains, we'll still enjoy it, because the plan isn't about the weather, it's about being together. See how smooth that sounds? That's the magic of condition connectors. They make your thoughts sound connected, logical, and full of meaning. Group 6. Purpose connectors. Express goals and intentions. Like a native speaker, You've already learned how to connect ideas with time and condition connectors. Now it's time to master a new kind of connector: purpose connectors. The ones that answer the question, why? When you talk about goals, reasons, or intentions, native speakers use connectors like to, in order to, so that, for the purpose of, for the sake of, and with the aim of. These little phrases help your English sound logical, clear, and purposeful. Let's start with the simplest and most common one: to. To, infinitive purpose. To is used everywhere. It's the most natural way to express purpose in English. For example, I'm studying English to get a better job. She went to the store to buy some milk. You can use to whenever you want to say why you're doing something. It's short, flexible, and works in almost every situation. Just remember, the verb after to should be in its base form. I'm saving money to travel, not to traveling. In order to, so as to. Now, if you want to sound more formal or precise, use in order to or so as to. They mean exactly the same as to, but they make your sentence smoother and slightly more polished. For example, I left early in order to catch the train. He spoke quietly so as to not wake the baby. These are great for presentations, essays, or professional conversations, when you want to sound organized and confident. 3. So that. So that is one of the most useful connectors in English. It connects two clauses and explains the reason or goal behind an action. For example, I'm studying hard so that I can pass the test. She turned on the lights so that everyone could see. Notice how so that is often followed by can, could, will, or would. It shows purpose and expected results. Tip: native speakers sometimes drop that in casual speech, so they might say, I'm studying hard so I can pass the test. A totally natural. For a plus noun, ing form. For is another extremely common purpose connector, but be careful. It's followed by a noun or ing form, not a base verb. For example, I bought a brush for painting. She went to the store for milk. This button is for starting the engine. Compare. I'm studying to learn English. I'm studying for learn English. For focuses on the function or intended use of something, while to focuses on the reason why you do it. 5. For the purpose of, for the sake of, with the aim of. Now we move to more formal or expressive connectors that are great for advanced English and professional writing. For the purpose of, with the goal of. Example: this tool was designed for the purpose of improving efficiency. For the sake of, for the benefit of, or to help someone or something. Example: I stopped arguing for the sake of peace. Let's stay quiet for the sake of the children. With the aim of, with the intention of. Example: the company started a new campaign with the aim of reducing waste. These expressions sound intelligent, formal, and professional, great for reports, meetings, or presentations. To avoid, to prevent. These are special. Combinations of to that express negative purposes, things you do to stop something from happening. For example, he spoke softly to avoid waking the baby. I wore sunscreen to prevent sunburn. Native speakers use these all the time to explain logical or safety-related actions. Practice challenge. Let's test your understanding. Try to fill in the blanks with the correct purpose connector. 1. I'm saving money. Anaridao. Buy a new laptop. Tiuani2. She whispered. Not wake the baby. So as to or in order to 3, I joined a gym. I can get fit. So that. He went to the library. Study for the exam. 2-5. They moved to the city. Find better jobs. To 6. The government launched a new policy. Protecting the environment. For the purpose of. We stopped arguing. the children. For the sake of, he slowed down. Avoid an accident. To great job, these connectors are simple, but mastering them will instantly make your English more fluent and professional. Short story example. Here's a quick story using purpose connectors naturally. I started learning English to improve my communication skills. I practice every day so that I can speak confidently at work. I joined a conversation group in order to meet new people. Sometimes I watch movies with subtitles for the purpose of learning new expressions. I also listen to English podcasts so as to improve my pronunciation. I do all this for the sake of my future career, and with the aim of living abroad one day. Did you notice how every sentence feels connected and meaningful? That's because each connector explains the reason why something happens. Quick recap. Let's review all the key purpose connectors. 2. Most common and natural. In order to, so as to, formal or polite purpose. So that shows reason and result, often with can, could, or will. For plus noun, ing, shows function or use. For the purpose of, formal and professional. For the sake of, emotional or motivational reason. With the aim of, intentional or goal-driven. To avoid, to prevent, negative purpose. Each of these makes your English smoother and helps your audience instantly understand why you're saying something. Final motivation. Here's the secret. Native speakers don't just say what they do, they explain why they do it. That's what makes their English sound natural and meaningful. So from now on, don't just say, "I'm learning English." Say, "I'm learning English to connect with people around the world. I'm improving my English so that I can grow my career. I'm studying for the sake of my dream job." The more purpose connectors you use, the more intentional and confident your English will sound. Now that you've mastered purpose connectors, get ready for the next section. Group 7, Result. Connectors, where you'll learn how to show results and consequences smoothly, just like a native speaker. You've already learned how to connect ideas with time and condition connectors. Now it's time to master a new kind of connector, purpose connectors, the ones that answer the question, why? When you talk about goals, reasons, or intentions. Native speakers use connectors like to, in order to, so that, for the purpose of, for the sake of, and with the aim of. These short but powerful words make your English sound logical, connected, and fluent, just like a native speaker. 2. Infinitive purpose. To is the most natural and frequently used connector for purpose in English. It's short, simple, and extremely flexible. Examples: I'm studying English to get a better job. She went to the store to buy milk. He slowed down to avoid an accident. You can use to in nearly every situation when explaining why something happens. Just remember, use to plus base form of the verb, not ing. I'm saving money to travel. I'm saving money to traveling. Try this mini challenge. Say aloud, I'm watching this video to improve my English. The answer is, to improve my English. Simple, right? In order to, so as to. Now let's make things a little more advanced. If you want your English to sound formal or academic, use in order to or so as to. They mean the same as to, but they make your sentence sound smoother and more intentional. Examples: I left early in order to catch the train. He spoke quietly so as to not wake the baby. We practice every day in order to get better. Pro tip: use these in presentations, essays, or professional contexts. They instantly make you sound confident and precise. Let's practice. Change this sentence. I exercise to stay healthy. I exercise in order to stay healthy. I exercise so as to stay healthy. Both are perfectly natural. So, that this one is a superstar connector for showing reason and result. It connects two parts of a sentence, one showing action and one showing purpose. Examples. I'm studying hard so that I can pass the test. She turned on the lights so that everyone could see. Notice how native speakers often include modal verbs like can, could, will, or would after so that. In everyday conversation, we often drop that. I'm studying hard so I can pass the test. I left early so I wouldn't be late. Tip: use so that when you're explaining why you're doing something for a clear outcome. 4 for plus noun, ing form. 4 also expresses purpose, but it's followed by a noun or ing form, never a base verb. Examples. I bought a brush for painting. She went to the store for milk. This button is for starting the engine. Compare these two. I'm studying to learn English. I'm studying for Learn English. They look similar, but 4 focuses on the function or use of something, while 2 focuses on the reason you do it. So, this app is for learning English. Also, I use this app to learn English. Both are correct, but they highlight slightly different ideas. For the purpose of, for the sake of, with the aim of. Now we move into advanced connectors that make your speech sound polished and thoughtful. For the purpose of, with the goal of. Example. This tool was designed for the purpose of improving efficiency, for the sake of, for the benefit of, or to protect something valuable. Examples. I stopped arguing for the sake of peace. Let's stay quiet for the sake of the children, with the aim of, with the intention of. Example. The company started a new campaign with the aim of reducing waste. Pro tip. These connectors are excellent for formal writing, reports, or professional discussions. 6 to avoid, to prevent. These are special forms of to used to describe negative purposes, things you do to stop something from happening. Examples. He spoke softly to avoid waking the baby. I wore sunscreen to prevent sunburn. She left early to avoid traffic. These sound very natural and logical. You'll hear them all the time in native speech. Quick practice challenge. Let's check how well you can use them. Fill in the blanks. I'm saving money. Buy a new laptop. Onto 2. She whispered. Not wake the baby, so as to or in order to. 3. I joined a gym. I can get fit, so that. He went to the library. Study for the exam. 2-5. They moved to the city. Find better jobs. 6. The government launched a new policy, protecting the environment, for the purpose of. 7. We stopped arguing. The children, for the sake of. He slowed down. Avoid an accident. To excellent work. You're already speaking with purpose. Short dialogue practice. Let's bring it to life with a short conversation. A. Why are you taking English classes? B. I'm taking them to improve my pronunciation. A. Are you also studying grammar? B. Yes, I study grammar so that I can write emails more clearly. A. Wow, that's great. I joined this course for the purpose of preparing for my TOEFL exam. B. Nice. I'm doing it for the sake of my future career. See how natural that sounds? Each connector expresses why, but adds a different emotional tone. Quick recap. Let's summarize all the connectors you learned today. 2. Most common and flexible. In order to, so as to, formal and polite. So that, shows reason and result. For plus noun ing, shows function. For the purpose of, formal, professional. For the sake of, emotional or personal. With the aim of, goal-oriented and intentional. To avoid, to prevent, negative purpose. Final motivation. Here's a secret. Fluent English isn't about fancy words. It's about clarity and connection. When you use purpose connectors, you instantly sound more intentional and natural. So don't just say, I'm learning English. Instead, say, I'm learning English to connect with people around the world. I'm improving my English so that I can grow my career. I'm studying for the sake of my dream job. That's how native speakers talk, clear, goal-focused, and confident. Result connectors express outcomes and consequences. Naturally. Now that you know how to express purpose, why something happens, let's move on to expressing the result. What happens next? Result connectors help your sentences sound complete, logical, and connected. They show the effect of an action or situation. Native speakers use them constantly to make their speech flow naturally. Common result connectors include so, therefore, as a result. Consequently, that's why, thus, hence, and as a consequence. Let's break each one down with examples and real-life use. So is the most common and natural result connector in English. It's used in everyday speech and writing to show cause and effect. Example: it was raining, so we stayed inside. She studied hard, so she passed the exam. I was hungry, so I made a sandwich. Notice how so connects two ideas smoothly. It's conversational, simple, and fits every context, from casual talk to storytelling. Pro tip: use so in spoken English for a natural, friendly tone. Try it. I was tired. I went to bed early. So easy, right? Therefore. Therefore is more formal and is used mostly in writing, presentations, or professional speech. It means for that reason or as a logical result. Examples: the company expanded its market. Therefore, profits increased. He didn't study. Therefore, he failed the exam. Structure tip: therefore usually appears at the beginning of the result clause, followed by a comma. For instance, she was late. Therefore, she missed the meeting. It's a great way to sound polished and professional, perfect for academic or business English. As a result. As a result means because of that and is slightly less formal than therefore. It can be used in both spoken and written English. Examples: he didn't sleep well. As a result, he felt tired all day. The company cut costs. As a result, they saved thousands of dollars. You can also place it at the end of a sentence. He forgot his umbrella and got wet as a result. Pro tip: as a result adds a smooth, logical connection, perfect for explaining cause and effect clearly. Consequently. Consequently is formal and academic. It means because of this or as a result of this action. Examples: the storm destroyed many houses. Consequently, hundreds of people were left homeless. She didn't pay attention. Consequently, she made several mistakes. Use this when you want to sound professional, like in essays, reports, or presentations. That's why. That's why is casual and very common in spoken English. It's perfect for storytelling, explaining, or casual conversation. Examples: I didn't sleep well last night. That's why I look so tired. He practices every day. That's why he's so good at guitar. Pro tip: use that's why when you're explaining a reason directly to your listener. It sounds friendly and clear. Thus. Thus is formal and often used in academic writing or professional speech. It means in this way or as a result of that. Examples: he invested wisely. Thus, he became wealthy. The data was inaccurate. Thus, the conclusion was unreliable. Use thus when you want to make your sentences sound sophisticated and concise. Hence. Hence means for this reason or because of this. It's formal and often used in academic or written English. Examples: he was the only qualified candidate. Hence, he got the job. The roads were icy. Hence the delay. Pro tip: in spoken English, hence is less common. Native speakers prefer so or that's why. But in writing, it adds elegance and precision. As a consequence. This is another formal connector that works beautifully in reports or professional discussions. Examples: the team failed to meet the deadline. As a consequence, the project was delayed. He ignored the warnings. As a consequence, he faced serious problems. This phrase emphasizes the seriousness or importance of the result, great for formal tone or storytelling drama. Quick practice challenge. Fill in the blanks with the correct result connector. It was snowing, we stayed home. So she didn't have breakfast. She was hungry by noon. As a result, he was careless. He broke the glass. Therefore I didn't charge my phone. The battery died. Consequently, or that's why, the traffic was heavy. We missed the movie. And so the product was defective. The company offered a refund. Hence, or as a consequence, short story example. Let's put these connectors into a mini story. Yesterday I forgot to set my alarm, so I woke up late. As a result, I missed my morning bus. I tried to get a taxi, but there was none available. Therefore, I had to walk to work. It started raining halfway there. Consequently, I arrived soaked. My boss wasn't happy, and that's why I'm buying a new alarm clock today. Notice how natural and connected the story feels. Each sentence flows logically into the next. That's the magic of result connectors. Pro tips for sounding native. Native speakers often combine connectors. It was raining, so I stayed home, and as a result, I finished my book. In formal writing, vary your connectors for better style. Don't repeat so too often. Mix in therefore, thus, or as a result. In conversation, keep it simple. Use so and that's why to sound natural and friendly. Practice exercise. Real-life use. Complete the sentences using result connectors. I didn't study last night. I failed the test. So she didn't wear a coat. She got a cold. And that's why he missed the meeting. He didn't know the new schedule. Consequently, the team worked hard. They won the competition. Therefore, I didn't drink coffee this morning. I feel sleepy. Or as a result, quick recap lets review everything. So, simple, natural, and conversational. Therefore, formal and logical. As a result, neutral, used in both speech and writing. Consequently, formal and academic. That's why casual and friendly, thus very formal and concise. Hence, elegant and professional. As a consequence, serious or formal cause and effect. Final motivation. Result connectors help your ideas flow like water, smooth, natural, and connected. Native speakers use them constantly to explain what happens next and why. So instead of saying, I was late, I missed the bus, say, I was late, so I missed the bus. Or, I was late. As a result, I missed the bus. Small words, big difference. The more you practice these connectors, the more fluent, logical, and confident your English will sound. Contrast and comparison connectors. Express differences. Like a native to sound fluent, you must be able to compare ideas, show contrasts, and connect differences naturally, the way native speakers do in everyday English. Whether you're explaining opinions, comparing people, or debating topics, these connectors make your English more logical, persuasive, and sophisticated. Common connectors for contrast and comparison include but, although, though, even though. However, while, whereas, on the other hand, in contrast instead, yet nevertheless, whereas, and similarly, let's break them down one by one with examples. Tips and practice. But simple, short, and powerful. But is the most common contrast connector in English. It connects two ideas that are opposite or unexpected. Examples. I like coffee, but I don't drink it every day. She's smart, but lazy. He tried hard but failed the exam. Pro tip, but is perfect for everyday conversation. It's short, natural, and works in every context. Just avoid overusing it in writing. Mix in other connectors for variety. Although, though, even though. These connectors all mean the same as but they're used differently in sentence structure. Examples. Although it was raining, we went outside. Though she was tired, she kept working. Even though he's young, he's very responsible. Grammar tip. Use although, though, and even though at the beginning of a sentence or between two clauses. Even though adds extra emphasis. It's stronger than although. Compare. Although it was cold, we went swimming. Even though it was freezing, we went swimming. However means but or nevertheless, but it's more formal and flexible. Examples. The hotel was beautiful. However, the food wasn't great. He studied hard. However, he didn't pass. You can take the bus. However, it might take longer. Pro tip. However often appears at the beginning of the second sentence, followed by a comma. It's perfect for essays, presentations, or storytelling when you want a smooth transition. While whereas, these two connectors show contrast between two facts or ideas. Examples. While I enjoy coffee, my sister prefers tea, whereas he likes cities. I love the countryside. While some people love summer, others hate the heat. Pro tip. While can mean during the time that or although, depending on context. In contrast sentences, it's similar to although, on the other hand. This connector is used when you want to present the opposite point of view or a contrasting idea. Examples. Living in a city is exciting. On the other hand, it can be stressful. He's very confident. On the other hand, he can be arrogant sometimes. Online learning is convenient. On the other hand, it can feel lonely. Use it to sound balanced and analytical, great for discussions or debates. In contrast. In contrast is formal and often used in writing or presentations. It means compared to something different. Examples. The north of the country is very cold. In contrast, the south is warm. The first product was a failure. In contrast, the second one was a success. Use this when you want to clearly show a difference in facts, data, or opinions. Instead is used to replace one idea or action with another, showing choice or preference. Examples. I didn't go to the gym. I stayed home instead. We should save money instead of spending it. She didn't buy coffee. She drank tea instead. Grammar tip. Instead often comes at the end of a sentence, while instead of is followed by a noun or ing form. Yet is similar to but it adds a tone of surprise or contrast. Examples. He's rich, yet he's not happy. It's small, yet powerful. She's young, yet very mature. Pro tip. Use yet to sound natural and expressive in storytelling or formal writing. Nevertheless, nonetheless. These two mean in spite of that and are used to show strong contrast or persistence. Examples. It was raining. Nevertheless, we continued our trip. The plan was risky. Nonetheless, they succeeded. He was tired. Nevertheless, he finished the project. Pro tip. They sound formal but powerful. Perfect for essays, reports, or motivational speeches. Similarly is used for comparison, to show that two ideas or things are alike. Examples. She loves traveling. Similarly, her brother enjoys exploring new places. The first method worked well. Similarly, the second method produced great results. English has many phrasal verbs. Similarly, Spanish uses reflexive verbs often.